Good morning, KG here. I decided to redo this video mainly because I lost the first one somewhere on my phone. So what I would like to do today is read you part of the first book of the 3-book series. This is Through the Eyes of Grace, Doug's Walk with Peter and Jesus. The first book goes through the Gospels, story of the events in Peter's life. The second book that's also out is Event in Peter's life through the book of Acts. And third book that is just coming out pretty soon now is Paul through the book of Acts. And these first 3 books, I call them children books or youth books, even though adults love them too. But I do so because they're told by the point of view of a dog, just walking with Peter or Paul and telling what they see. It's a different perspective. All my books I've written are fictional, Bible stories on Bible characters, but they are based in true scripture and true historical events. So I take the truth from the Bible and history, and I wrap a fiction story around it. These are available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The author would be Kevin George Williams or K.G. Williams. There are other authors the same name. You may need books. I will try to put the links below again. Again, I am learning to use YouTube. That's why I'm doing these videos. But I'm going to read the foreword to the first book today. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Again, this is Through the Eyes of Faith, a dog's journey with Peter and Jesus. And just let me mention that the cover in this book, you see it here, this is the first edition, which is no longer available. The second edition, a slightly modified color theme, but still has the shadow of the figures walking through the sunset. Okay, forward. In the pages that follow, you are invited on a journey through one of the most profound and pivotal moments in history, the final days of Jesus as seen through the eyes of those who walk beside him. This is a story of friendship, love, failure, and ultimately redemption. This is a story not just of faith, but of human emotion, the anguish of doubt, the pain of loss, and the triumph of forgiveness. At the heart of this narrative is Peter, a fisherman turned disciple whose experiences both the height and spiritual closeness of the depths of personal failure. We follow Peter's footsteps through the bustling city streets, quiet gardens, and open seas as he wrestles with the burden of his denial and the struggle to reclaim his faith. Alongside him are other disciples, each carrying their own hopes, fears, and uncertainties. This story delivers into their shared moments of joy, confusion, sorrow, and the strength they find in unity as they confront the life-altering events unfolding around them. But there is another quiet observer woven into this tale, a presence that offers a unique perspective on these extraordinary times. Peter's loyal dog, Faith. Though dogs in the first century were typically seen as a nuisance, wandering scavengers more than pets, Faith gradually grows on Peter, becoming not just a companion, but a symbol of loyalty and devotion. As Peter faces his inner struggles and moments of doubt, Faith remains by his side, providing silent comfort. Over time, the bond between them deepens, and Faith becomes Peter's lifelong companion, reflecting the same steadfast love and faithfulness Peter sought from his own journey with Jesus. Through the dog's watchful eyes, we gained a deeper, almost instinctual understanding of the weight carried by the disciples and the significance of Jesus' acts of love and mercy. Through these eyes, we witness the disciples' triumphs and failures, their prayers and tears, and the quiet, instinctual moments of connection, of words, uh, where, that words often fail to capture. This story seeks to bring to life the emotions that resonates with all of us: fear and doubt, courage and hope, loss and forgiveness. It is not just a retelling of familiar events, but an invitation to see them anew, a place to place ourselves in the sandals of those who walk beside Jesus, to feel the cool Galilean breeze, the warmth of the morning sun, and the sting of fear as Peter wrestles with his deepest regrets. More importantly, it is a story that reminds us of the boundless grace offered to each of us, regardless of our failings. As you turn these pages, may you find a deeper understanding of human heart, a new perspective on a timeless narrative, and perhaps even a glimpse of your own journey within the story of Peter and his faithful companion. This is a story not only of a moment in history, but of the overlapping hope found in the redemption. Welcome to this journey of faith, forgiveness, and the journey of new beginnings. Let's do chapter 1. Chapter 1, the beginning of a journey. The air buzzed with something strange that morning, like the world had shifted overnight. I couldn't put my paw on it, but everything felt charged, alive. As I roamed the familiar streets, invisible as always, I knew today wasn't to be like any others. I was just a stray, forgotten, and nameless, but something was pulling me, guiding me towards the edge of town, as if the streets themselves whispered that something extraordinary was about to unfold. The dust swirled in the breeze as I wandered near the shore of the Sea of Galilee, hoping to find a morsel of food. That's when I saw him, Simon. I didn't know his name then, but I watched as his entire hands pulled thick nets from the water. The scent of fish immediately caught my nose, and I could hear my stomach growl. Simon worked steadily, his brow furrowed, his movements precise. He was a man of routine, strong and quiet, as he hauled fish into his boat. I stayed at a distance, eyeing the pile of fish by his feet, hoping he might drop something. The waves of the sea lapped against the shore, calming in their rhythmic sound. I could tell that he was no stranger to this work. But something made me hesitate. There was a seriousness to him, an intensity in his eyes that kept me from rushing in to grab a fish. And then, just as I was deciding whether to approach, I noticed another figure walking toward Simon. The man who approached him was different. His clothes were simple, but he moved with a presence that made me stop in my tracks. It was as if he carried with him the warmth of the sun itself, as he walked out slowly and deliberately to Simon's boat. I felt a pull towards him. I didn't understand it, but something deep inside me knew this moment was important. When the stranger reached Simon and his brother Andrew, they were casting their nets into the Sea of Galilee. Engrossed in the familiar rhythm of fishing, with a voice that was both gentle and filled with authority, he called out to them, "Come, follow me, and I will make you fisher of men." His gaze steady and full of purpose. Simon looked up, his hands gripping a net as if frozen by the unexpected invitation. Andrew glanced at his brother, a similar confusion in his eyes. For a moment, both seemed torn. This was their livelihood, the only life they had ever known. The weight of the nets in their hands was a tangible reminder of their responsibilities. But something about the man's words and the way he spoke cut through their hesitation. Simon was the first to act. With a decisive moment, he dropped the net he had been holding, letting it slip from his grasp and fall to the ground. His brow, once furrowed in confusion, now relaxed. A new light filled his eyes. Andrew, standing beside him, followed his brother's lead, letting go of his net with a similar sense of purpose. Without another word, the brothers stood, their eyes meeting those of this stranger in silent agreement. "We will follow you," Simon said, though it felt as though the words were coming from both of them. I watched as the two men left their boats behind and joined the man who had called them. Something inside me stirred as I followed along, keeping a short distance behind them, my paws sinking softly into the damp sand. There was a quiet power in the way this man had spoken to them, as if he saw a potential in them that no one else could. As we walked further along the shore, the sun climbing higher into the sky, we came upon another pair of fishermen, James and John, the sons of Zebedee. They were sitting in their boat, mending their nets alongside their father. The man beside Simon and Andrew called out to them as well, "Follow me." I saw a flicker of recognition in their eyes as they looked up from their work. James and John exchanged a quick glance, and without a word, they too left their nets and their boat behind. Their father watched silently as his sons climbed out of the boat, their faces a mixture of determination and faith. The four men now stood beside the mysterious man they had just recently met, ready to follow him into a future they could not yet fully understand. As I followed behind them, something told me that this was the beginning of an extraordinary journey. Simon and these men, once simple fishermen, were now walking a path that would lead them to change the world. There was something about this man and this moment that stirred deep inside me, drawing me in. I didn't know where they were going, but I felt compelled to follow. So, like any inquisitive dog would do, I quietly trailed behind them, my paws sinking into the soft dirt as I moved, careful not to be seen. This was no longer a simple fishing town. It had become the birthplace of a journey that would transform lives, including my own. I was a witness to this calling, a witness to the beginning of something far greater than any of us could imagine. And so, with quiet steps and a heart full of loyalty, I trailed behind Simon and the other men, watching them as they left behind their nets and their boats and their old lives to follow this man named Jesus. The scripture references for this chapter are Matthew chapter 4, verses 18 to 22, Mark chapter 1, verses 16 to 20, and Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. That's it for today. Have a great day. May God bless.